The next day, I saw Arif again. He came to visit, and when our eyes met, it was as if everything else around us disappeared. We didn't need to say anything. We both knew that the time had come to face the truth. Arif, I whispered, my voice barely audible. What do we do now? He took my hand in his touch warm and reassuring. Lena, whatever happens, we'll face it together. I don't want to lose you. I squeezed his hand, my heart full of conflicting emotions. I don't want to lose you either. But I'm scared, Arif. I'm scared of what it might do to us, to our family. He nodded, his expression serious. I understand, but I'm not going to let fear stop us. If this is really love, we'll find a way to make it work. As we stood there, hand in hand, I felt the weight of the decision we had to make. We couldn't turn back now. Our love had already taken root, and now we had to face the world, for better or for worse. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty. Arif and I found ourselves in a whirlwind of emotions, excitement, fear, and longing. Every moment together felt more precious than the last, but the looming question of what our families would say haunted us. We couldn't hide forever. The tension was building, and we both knew it was only a matter of time before we would have to confront the reality of our love. One evening, as we sat in the park, Arif turned to me with a serious expression. Lena, we can't keep pretending like nothing is happening. We need to decide what we want. If we're going to be together, we have to be ready to face the consequences. I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. But what if it ruins everything? What if our families can't accept it? Arif's gaze softened, and he gently took my hand. I can't live with the what-ifs, Lena. I can't pretend like I don't love you. If we don't take a step forward now, we'll never know if we could have made it work. His words rang in my ears, and I realized he was right. We couldn't stay in the shadows forever. If we were truly in love, we had to be willing to take the risk. But the fear of what lay ahead still held me back. The next few days were a blur of anxious thoughts and sleepless nights. We knew we had to talk to our families, but neither of us knew how to begin that conversation. Finally, after much hesitation, we agreed that it was time. We couldn't keep living in fear, and we needed to confront whatever would come next. Arif and I arranged to meet our families separately, each of us preparing ourselves for the worst. My heart raced as I sat down with my parents. I could see the concern in their eyes as they looked at me. They knew something was different. They had to. Mom, Dad, I began, my voice shaking slightly. There's something important I need to tell you. They exchanged glances, clearly worried. What is it, Lena? My mother asked, her voice gentle but filled with curiosity. I took a deep breath, knowing this moment would change everything. I've fallen in love with Arif. For a moment, there was silence. My parents' faces were unreadable, and I couldn't tell if they were shocked, angry, or disappointed. Then my father spoke, his voice calm but firm. Lena, you know how much we care about family. We've always taught you that certain boundaries exist for a reason. Are you sure this is what you want? Tears welled up in my eyes as I nodded. I don't know what to say, but I can't deny my feelings. I love him, and I can't keep hiding it. My mother reached out to hold my hand, her touch soft. We understand that love is complicated, but you have to understand the consequences of your actions. This isn't just about you and Arif. It affects everyone. The conversation was long, filled with difficult questions and concerns. But in the end, my parents didn't reject me. They told me they would need time to think about everything to understand what this meant for our family. Afterward, I met with Arif, my heart heavy with the weight of the conversation. He was sitting on the bench near the river, waiting for me. As I approached him, I could see the tension in his eyes, the same fear that had consumed me. They know, I whispered, sitting beside him. They're not angry, but they're worried. They need time to process everything. Arif nodded, his hand finding mine. We knew this wouldn't be easy. But I'm not going to give up on us, Lena. No matter what happens, we'll get through this. For a moment, we sat in silence, watching the river flow by. It was strange how something so natural and constant, like the water, could be so different from our situation, moving forward, but never quite the same. We didn't know what the future held, but we both knew one thing. We couldn't walk away from what we had. We had already chosen each other, and now we would face whatever came our way together. But that was just the beginning. There was still much to face, many more hurdles to clear. The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. We were in this together. The days that followed our conversation with my parents felt like a haze. Arif and I were caught in a whirlwind of emotions, hope, fear, and anticipation. We both knew our families needed time, but the waiting was unbearable. Every glance, every small interaction between us carried the weight of everything we hadn't said out loud yet. But as time passed, something surprising happened. My parents began to open up slowly. They didn't exactly approve, but they weren't rejecting me either. The discussions were long, often filled with tears, questions, and silence. It was clear they were struggling with the situation, trying to reconcile the love they had for both of us with the complexities of the situation. I could see the concern in their eyes, but there was also a quiet acceptance growing, piece by piece. One evening, after another tense family gathering, my mother called me into the living room. I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. She sat on the couch, her expression serious but calm. "Lena, come sit," she said softly. "I need to talk to you." I sat beside her, my hands trembling slightly. She looked at me for a moment, and then her voice broke the silence. "Your father and I have been talking, and we're trying to understand. We don't want to hurt you, Lena. We see how much you love Arif. But this is difficult for us. We raised you with certain values, and this, well, it's hard to reconcile." I swallowed, trying to find the right words. "I understand, Mom. I really do. I never wanted to hurt anyone. But I can't change how I feel. Arif, he's not just my cousin. He's someone I love deeply." She sighed, and for a moment, I thought she might give up. But then she surprised me. "We've been thinking about it. Your father and I, we've agreed that you deserve to be happy. If this is what makes you happy, then we'll try to understand, even if it's hard. But Lena, please remember, it's not just about you and Arif. It's about the family. If we move forward, we need to do it carefully.